Hello everyone, it's Karen here. I'm so glad you could join me today for this Snow Peeking Pandas Christmas card. I started off by cutting two pieces of cardstock. The first is 4¼ inches by 11 inches, so that's just half of a standard 8.5 by 11. And the other is a regular card front. It's 4¼ inches by 5.5. And that will be the front of the card. So I'm starting with covering it with my anti-static powder, because I'm going to put these snowflakes on the front. It's lots of snowflakes from Simon Says Stamp. And I've just placed them all over the front the way I kind of wanted them to go. Pressing them down here, and I will ink them up with VersaFine ink, Versamark clear ink. And I'm going to heat emboss these just in a white embossing powder. So those are kind of covering the front. And that's Hero Arts embossing powder that I've been using in white. I quite like it. It seems quite good. So we'll just heat set those, and I'm going to do the old ink smushing technique on the front to kind of color that up. I have to admit, I must be a bit of a control freak, because I prefer to put my ink on that little scrap piece of acetate. I find that I have a little more control over where the ink goes on my card front. I can see it better instead of getting a big surprise at the end. So here I am, I'm just dabbing that tumbled glass Distress Oxide ink down, and I'm redoing that because it's very pale, that one. And the other colors I've got there are Shaded Lilac and Blueprint Sketch. I sort of heat set that a little bit in between. It's not completely dry, but it's a little dry. I was worried about melting the embossing powder again. So this is the Shaded Lilac that's going on. Those two colors are so pretty together. So I sort of dab it down, and then I do this smushing, because you can kind of see where it is and if you like the placement of it. If the cardstock's turned upside down, I just find that a little more distressing for me. So I like the control here. And this is Blueprint Sketch, which is quite a bit darker. And I just sort of dab that around. I've got a few empty spots around the edges that I kind of wanted to make sure I got. And then I sort of dab that off because it is quite a bit darker than the other two. And before that one even dries, I am going to put some more of that tumbled glass on so that it can blend into that Blueprint Sketch a little bit more. I'm spritzing with maybe 2 or 3 spritzes of water there in between. Onto the ink, that is. Not onto the cardstock, but I spritz the water onto the ink that's on the acetate. I didn't want it to be too runny, that water, but you want it to be loose enough that it will move around. And then once that's the way I kind of liked it, I heat set that, dabbed off a wee bit of excess ink there. And I tend to dry the back as well as the front. Now this is a Sukaneko Sparkle Shimmer Spray that when you spritz it on, you get that really pretty glistening snowy look. So here I'm showing the stamps that I use for this. They're Gerda Steiner's Peeking Friends. That's the one in my hand there. The Lovely Pandas is on the left, and this is Puppy Kisses for Santa. And they are all so sweet together. I am just stamping up all the stamps I'm using there in my stamp positioner. That one little panda that's holding the balloon, I wanted him to just be standing waiting. He's waiting for his turn to be picked up by Santa. So I didn't want the balloon or the string, so I'm just erasing that with a baby wipe. And then stamp it down. That is Gina K Black Amalgam ink that I used because I did Copic color these. And you can see that little panda's hand didn't quite get a good impression because I wiped it off. So I just went over with my Copic multi-liner, filled it in, and he was good to go. I did not bore you with all the coloring of these little images, so I have them all colored up there. and I fussy cut them out. And I'm showing you here, those peaking ones that go on the front, I personally don't like the look of the Copic marker bleeding through to the back. So this is my trick for fussy cutting and getting just a perfect second die cut or fussy cut. I used temporary tape there and taped down another piece of cardstock, and I'm fussy cutting out now around the panda and the Santa. So I'm actually cutting the two at the same time so that their edges are even. And there you can see that they line up and match, and then you don't get that black showing through, which I don't really like. I'm just wiping off the temporary tape there. And there they are, they line up. So that second one covers up the Copic marker. And I was just showing you here where I cut that Santa. I just wanted his hand showing, his little mittens. So I cut around those and then straight across under his mustache, just so that he would fit on the front. And the panda I cut out exactly as it was. It's already nicely trimmed down. Okay, so this is the card base. It's that 4 1/4. Oh, I have the wrong note there. It's 4 1/4 by 11, sorry. And you need to crease it 2 3/4 inches at both ends. So instead of trying to work out the math, I just turn it around and do both at the 2 3/4 mark. And then you need to crease those folds really well. This whole card is an awful lot about bone folding, or at least using your bone folding and creasing. So leave your bone folder out on your desktop because you're going to need it for this one. So that's the card base. Now I use these Simon Says Stamp stained glass greetings. I like the joy in there and that little message, "May your Christmas be filled with joy." So I'm just putting this in my stamp positioner, and I use the VersaFine ink for this one. And instead of using the Copic marker, because I don't like it bleeding through, I'm using this Tombow marker that will not bleed. So I just picked a color that was close to what I wanted and did that. Now that sentiment, "May your Christmas be filled with," I just took a scrap piece of cardstock and colored it up with my Copic marker that matched Santa's suit, and white stamped and heat embossed on that. Now there I'm showing that I did stamp with, I put snowflakes on my original card, but they didn't seem to show up very well. So this time I thought for the video I would try it in the tumbled glass. And I'm using that Hero Art Sparkle embossing powder over top of that. So using my anti-static powder bag where the snowflakes will go. And I wasn't too concerned with getting a really deep blue on these. I just wanted a touch of blue and then that sparkle embossing powder. So I'm stamping all of these up. And that's the sparkle powder right there. It's a nice powder, that one actually. And just heat set those. And they do show up a little bit better than the clear ones. Okay, so we're on to the front of the card. Now that piece that we just watercolored in or smooshed in needs to be cut in half. And I turn it upside down to do the cutting. It's less painful that way. You cut through all that work you did, just keep praying. And then on the front, you just need to make sure that you're putting them on the right side. I had a snowflake that I cut through the middle, so that needed to go together, those edges together. And I just took my tape runner and taped these on. And press them down. And there's the bone folder again. I don't know how many times I bone folded this card. It needs a lot. So now I'm going to attach those, the little peeking panda. I'm kind of figuring out where I want him to go on the front, and I just put 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape along his paws and adhered that to the front where I wanted him to go. So once he's down, then you could just put glue on the backing piece, just making sure you get it the right way around. And I glued that, and I think the backer actually helps stabilize those, because otherwise all that would be holding on would be that little one piece of tape. So with the glued down piece, it seems to hold really well. I haven't had any problems with these coming off or anything, so I think it works. Just press that one down. And now I'm just trying to position Santa, figure out where he is, and I just put the double-sided tape on his mittens. That was all of the front that got attached. And I was positioning him so his hat didn't fall below the bottom of the card, and I had to sort of wiggle him around just a little bit there. And then again, glue the backer onto that. Making sure you've glued the right side of the backer. I think that you could stamp snowflakes on those as well, just to detract a little bit from the image of it being stuck on there. But on that Santa, the one panda bear is going to kind of fit over that. But over the panda on the top, you could probably, on the inside, stamp another snowflake, I think. So I've just positioned my images where I sort of want them to go, and I'm showing you here. Try to keep that one panda to the right of the crease. The Santa, no matter what, gets a bit creased up, where the puppy dog does, and you'll see that in a minute. But I preferred that the one panda stayed on the other side of the line. It's just visually a little more pleasing, I think. So just gluing this guy down. These little pandas are so cute. That one right there, he just looks like he wants Santa to pick him up. It's his turn. And then you'll see here, once he's glued down, you have to crease him. Now, I did think about creasing him before I glued him, but I wasn't entirely sure I would get him straight in my score pal, whatever. So I ended up just doing it this way. Once I had him glued down, I just took the bone folder and creased him, and you're going to see I have to keep on gluing him down a bit. So there he's come up. So I just put a bit more glue and press that down, and I've missed his ear, but I will come back to that. And then just glue this guy down and make sure he stays to the right of that crease. And there. Folding again, just really keep pinching and folding and using your bone folder on this, because it just takes a bit of time. It will go down flatter, but at the beginning it's like it's got to learn where to go. So there I realize I've missed his ear, so I'm just gluing that one down as well. And more bone folder action. I told you this would be the bone folder card. Lots of bone folder work. And that's the inside of the card all done. Now on the outside, I stamped on that no peeking in Blueprint Sketch on scrap cardstock. And then I have I don't even know who this die is from anymore. Mine are all mixed up without the tags or anything in them. But I partial die cut it in the cardstock and also on foil, and then I just glued or taped those two together and taped it all down. And that is the card, guys. I hope that you'll give this one a go. It's so much fun. It's very cute, and there's lots of room to write a message on the inside. Those little animals are adorable. Thanks for watching. Bye.